I never thought I would live to see the day when my only son, Jason, would stand in front of me, proudly announcing that he had sold his house, the very house I helped him secure, the roof under which his future was meant to grow, just so his wife could indulge in her endless hunger for shopping. $1 million, Dad, Jason had said, his eyes sparkling with the kind of excitement I had once seen when he was a boy, opening his birthday gifts. But this time, it wasn't innocent joy. It was arrogance, recklessness, and the blind confidence of a man who thought money was endless. And standing right beside him was Olivia, his wife, my daughter-in-law. She wasn't smiling politely. No, she was grinning, like a queen who had just conquered another kingdom. Her perfectly manicured fingers rested on Jason's arm, as if she had orchestrated the entire deal. And in truth, she had. "You wouldn't understand, Mr. Harris," Olivia said sharply that day. "It's about living life at its fullest. What good is money if you just let it sit there?" I had swallowed the lump in my throat. My heart ached, but I didn't argue. I just looked at my son, my Jason, the boy I had raised single-handedly after his mother passed away. And all I could think was, where did I go wrong? But before I take you deeper into this painful journey of betrayal, heartbreak, and an unexpected twist that shook all of us, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next in this story. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Daniel Harris. I am 60 years old, a widower, and a father who has lived most of his life for his only child. When my wife, Margaret, passed away nearly 30 years ago, I was left with nothing but a newborn baby in my arms and a heart full of grief. People told me to remarry, to find someone to help raise Jason, but I couldn't. Margaret was my first and only love. I promised her, even as she lay in the hospital bed, taking her final breaths, that I would raise our son with every ounce of strength in me. And I did. I worked long, grueling shifts. My hands grew rough, my back bent, and my hair turned gray far earlier than it should have. But every sacrifice I made was worth it whenever I saw Jason smile. He was my reason to keep going, the flame that kept me alive when the world felt unbearably dark. When Jason was young, he used to look up to me like I was his hero. I still remember the nights we camped in our backyard, staring at the stars, him asking questions about life, and me telling him stories about his mother. He used to cling to my hand whenever he was scared of the dark. Back then, he thought his father could do anything, but somewhere along the way, something changed. Jason grew up. He became ambitious, determined, and hungry for success. At first, I was proud. Isn't that what every father wants? For his son to be stronger, better, and more successful? But ambition can be a dangerous thing when paired with arrogance. And then, Olivia came into the picture. At first, I tried to welcome her with an open heart. Jason loved her, and that was enough for me. But it didn't take long for me to see her true colors. Olivia wasn't interested in building a life. She was only interested in spending one. Designer handbags, expensive clothes, luxury cars, lavish vacations. It was never enough. No amount of money satisfied her. I could see Jason slowly slipping under her spell, molding himself to her desires. He was no longer the boy who laughed under the stars with me. He became a man who looked at me like I was outdated, irrelevant. Week. The day Jason told me he had sold his house for $1 million, my heart broke. That house was his foundation, his future, his stability. But Olivia saw it only as a vault, a source of quick cash to fund her endless shopping sprees. "Dad," Jason said proudly, "we're going to travel, buy a new car, live the dream life. You'll see. This is the best decision I've ever made." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake him until he remembered who he was, until he remembered the sacrifices I had made to give him that house in the first place. But instead, I stood there, silent, because sometimes silence says more than words ever could. That night, I sat alone in my small living room, staring at the framed photograph of Margaret. She was smiling in the picture, holding Jason as a baby. Tears welled in my eyes. "Margaret," I whispered into the stillness. "I did everything I could for him. I gave him all I had. But look at him now. Our son is lost, and I don't know how to bring him back." The months that followed were like watching a slow-motion disaster unfold. Jason and Olivia burned through that $1 million faster than I could have ever imagined. Luxury vacations in Paris and Rome, a brand new sports car, designer wardrobes that filled walk-in closets. Every time I saw their social media posts, a new picture of them sipping champagne or Olivia holding bags of shopping, my chest tightened. They thought they were untouchable, but money, no matter how much, doesn't last forever when you treat it like water pouring through your hands. And slowly, cracks began to show. Jason stopped answering my calls as often. Olivia became sharper, her smile more forced. And then, one evening, Jason showed up at my door, his face pale and eyes hollow. Olivia stood beside him, her arms crossed, looking annoyed rather than worried. "Dad," Jason said quietly, We need a place to stay." I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. I looked at him, then at Olivia, then back at him again. They had lost it all. The $1 million. The house, the car, the luxury lifestyle, all gone. And now they stood at my doorstep, expecting me to open my arms as if nothing had happened. My throat tightened. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. All the years of sacrifice. All the times I had given Jason everything, while taking nothing for myself. All the nights I had gone to bed hungry so he could eat. And now, after squandering a fortune for nothing more than greed, they wanted to move in with me? I clenched my fists, staring at them, my heart torn between love and fury. And in that moment, I realized this was only the beginning. When Jason and Olivia first walked out of the lawyer's office with a check for $1 million in their hands, I remember the way their faces glowed. They looked like children who had just discovered a magic lamp, believing the genie inside would grant them endless wishes. At first, they spent money with laughter, with pride, as though it were an achievement in itself. A brand new red sports car arrived in their driveway, polished to a shine so bright it nearly blinded the neighbors. Olivia made sure everyone saw it. She even staged a photo shoot, posting on social media with captions like, "Living our best life. Millionaire vibes only." Jason, my son, stood beside her, smiling like a boy who had just won the lottery. They dined in 5-star restaurants, sipping champagne that cost more than what I used to make in a week during my younger years. Vacations followed: Paris, Rome, Dubai. Olivia shared pictures of herself holding luxury shopping bags from brands I could barely pronounce. Jason captioned the photos with phrases like, "Money is meant to be enjoyed, not hoarded." But every time I saw those pictures, I felt my heart sink deeper. Not because they had money. No, I had prayed my whole life for Jason to live comfortably. What hurt was the arrogance, the wastefulness, the way Olivia smirked at the camera as though the world was beneath her, and the way Jason mirrored her pride instead of the humility I once taught him. 3 months. That's all it took. 3 months before the cracks began to show. The car that once shined like fire now sat in their driveway, scratched and dented from careless driving. Jason had bought not one, but 2 cars, because Olivia couldn't decide which one matched her vibe better. The vacations stopped because the money for plane tickets was running low. Olivia complained on social media. Back to boring life. Need another trip ASAP. Credit card bills piled up. They had spent money they didn't even have yet. And through all of it, not once did Jason call me. Not once did Olivia step foot in my home. They lived as though I didn't exist, until the day the money ran out completely. I remember one evening, sitting at my kitchen table, sipping the same black coffee I've been drinking for years. The furniture around me was old, the curtains faded, but it was home. I was staring at a framed photograph of Jason when he was a boy, missing his 2 front teeth, smiling wide, his arms around me. Tears stung my eyes. Where did I lose him? I thought back to the sacrifices I had made. There were nights when I came home with nothing but exhaustion and a crumpled paycheck, wondering if I could stretch it to cover Jason's school books and groceries. Nights when I skipped dinner so Jason could eat an extra helping. Days when my body screamed for rest, but I worked double shifts just to save for his future. And when he was accepted into college, I remember standing in the crowd, clapping until my hands hurt. I had tears streaming down my face as he shook hands with the dean. That was the moment I thought every sacrifice was worth it. But now, watching him throw away $1 million like loose change, I questioned myself. Had I failed him? Had I spoiled him? Did my love make him blind to struggle? One evening, weeks later, I heard a knock at my door. When I opened it, I saw Jason standing there, his shoulders slumped, his once confident eyes filled with unease. Olivia stood beside him, arms crossed, her face twisted in annoyance rather than shame. "Dad," Jason started, his voice low. We need a place to stay." I stood frozen. Olivia, impatient, added sharply, "The market's been unfair. People don't appreciate value these days. It's not our fault. We just need a little help until things get back on track." Her tone pierced me. It was no humility, no apology, just entitlement. I looked at Jason, searching for even a flicker of the boy I once knew. But all I saw was a man who had traded wisdom for arrogance, love for pride. My chest tightened. I wanted to slam the door. I wanted to shout, "No, you made your bed, now lie in it." But instead, I stayed silent, because silence, sometimes, is the only shield a broken heart has. That night, after they left, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed, Margaret's picture beside me on the nightstand. "Margaret," I whispered, staring into the dark, "our son is lost. He looks at me like I'm a burden, like I'm nothing. And yet he expects me to rescue him again. Tell me, what should I do?" But the walls gave no answers. Only silence. And deep down, I knew the storm had only just begun. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of a car engine outside my small home. My heart already knew who it was. When I pulled aside the curtain, I saw Jason's car parked in my driveway, its shine gone, dust clinging to the once luxurious body. The trunk was stuffed with suitcases, designer bags spilling out, Olivia's manicured hands gripping one as if it were treasure. I sighed deeply. So it begins. Jason walked in first, without knocking, like he owned the place. Olivia followed, wrinkling her nose at the old carpet in the hallway. "Dad," Jason said casually, as though this were some kind of reunion, "we're moving in. Just for a little while." I opened my mouth to speak, but Olivia's voice cut through before I could. "Your house is cozy," she said, dragging the word like poison. Her eyes scanned the living room, the old couch I'd had for 20 years, the small dining table with scratches from Jason's childhood homework. "But we'll need to make some changes. Maybe get rid of these antiques." I bit my tongue so hard it almost bled. That evening, while I sat quietly in my chair, Olivia strutted around like a queen reclaiming her palace. "Jason," she called, her voice sharp, "this kitchen is way too small. How do you expect me to cook here? And this fridge? It's ancient." Jason laughed, glancing at me. "Dad, Maybe we can upgrade some things. I mean, you've had the same stuff forever. Their laughter stung. Every item they mocked carried memories. Memories of Margaret, of family dinners, of Jason's childhood. To them, it was junk. To me, it was my life. I kept silent. But inside, my heart screamed. The days that followed were worse. Olivia complained about the food, the furniture, the space. Jason backed her every time. When I made a simple meal of rice and stew, Olivia pushed her plate away. I can't eat this, she said. It's plain. Don't you have anything better? Jason chuckled. Dad, maybe Olivia can take over the cooking. You know, bring some variety. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Do as you wish. But inside, the pain grew. One night, as they laughed in the living room, I sat alone in my bedroom, staring at the ceiling. Was I truly so worthless in their eyes? Did all my sacrifices mean nothing? I remembered the night Jason was born, Margaret's hand squeezing mine as she cried through the pain. The doctor placed that tiny boy in my arms, and I swore I would give him everything, my blood, my sweat, my life. And now, that boy called my life weak. That boy let his wife sneer at the home built with my blood. Tears streamed down my face, soaking my pillow. I whispered into the darkness, Margaret, if only you were here. Maybe he wouldn't have become like this. Maybe he'd still remember who we are. But as I lay there, something hardened inside me. Enough was enough. They thought I was weak. They thought I was nothing but an old man clinging to memories. But they had no idea who I really was. And one day soon, they would learn. Days turned into weeks, and my house no longer felt like my own. Jason and Olivia had claimed every corner, their voices echoing through my quiet home, their demands filling every day. I lived like a guest in my own house, Olivia's. Laughter stung my ears as she bragged on the phone to her friends. Yes, we're living with Daniel now. The house is small, but at least it's free. You know, old people don't need much anyway. Her words cut deeper than any knife. Jason wasn't any better. One evening, as I repaired a loose hinge on the kitchen cabinet, Jason leaned against the wall, smirking. Dad, you shouldn't bother. You're too old for this stuff. Maybe you should just rest. Let me handle things. Yet, he didn't lift a finger. He didn't fix a thing. He didn't even know how. I bit my tongue, forcing myself to stay calm. But inside, something had started to burn. That night, I sat alone at the dining table. A single candle flickered in front of me. I stared at my worn, calloused hands. Hands that had built this home, that had carried Jason as a child, that had worked until the skin cracked and bled. Weak. I whispered in my mind, if only he knew what these hands had endured. My memory pulled me back to my youth, the years after Margaret's death. Raising Jason alone wasn't easy. I had worked 2 jobs, often eating less so he could eat more, walking miles when I couldn't afford bus fare. I built everything with my sweat. Yet here he was, mocking the very foundation of his life. I clenched my fists. No more silence. The very next morning, opportunity arrived. Jason and Olivia woke up late, as usual, after a night of drinking and arguing. When they stumbled into the kitchen, they found a hot breakfast already on the table. Bread, eggs, fresh tea. Olivia raised her brows. Oh, you actually cooked something decent today. Jason smirked. Looks good, Dad. Didn't think you still had it in you. I said nothing. I just watched them eat, knowing they had no clue what was coming. Later that day, the electricity flickered. Jason panicked. Olivia, what's happening? The lights. She gasped. Oh no, the fridge, my food, my wine. Jason looked at me, desperate. Dad, what do we do? Calmly, I walked into the shed, pulled out tools, and fixed the old fuse box myself. Within minutes, the lights returned. Jason stared at me. How did you do that? I shrugged. You learn a thing or two when you live a life of responsibility. Olivia rolled her eyes, but I could see the flicker of unease in Jason's eyes. For the first time, he realized maybe I wasn't as helpless as he thought. The real test came the following week. A storm hit the town. Fierce winds, heavy rain, power outages everywhere. Neighbors rushed to secure their homes, but Jason and Olivia panicked. What if the roof collapses? Olivia shrieked. What if we run out of food? Jason shouted. I stayed calm. I gathered candles, checked the windows, secured the doors, and even helped neighbors tie down loose items. Jason followed me around, clueless. Dad, wait. You really know how to handle all this? I looked him in the eye. This isn't the first storm I've weathered. Jason, life has thrown me worse. For the first time, he had no words. When the storm passed, the neighborhood praised me. Daniel, one neighbor said, you saved us tonight. Without your guidance, many of us would have struggled. Jason stood there, silent, his pride shrinking with every compliment I received. Olivia scowled, crossing her arms, as though furious that the spotlight wasn't on her. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, there were no tears. Only resolve. They had underestimated me for too long. They had mistaken my silence for weakness. But soon, very soon, I would show them the truth. I whispered into the darkness. Respect is not demanded. It is earned. And one day, you will both learn what it truly means. The storm had passed, but the storm inside my house was only beginning. In the following days, my neighbors often stopped by to thank me. Daniel, you're the kind of man this community looks up to. You've always been dependable. We don't know what we'd do without you. Every word of praise echoed through the walls, reaching Jason and Olivia's ears. Jason pretended not to care, but I could see the shift in his eyes. The arrogance that once glowed there was dimming, replaced by something else. Doubt. Olivia, however, grew sharper. Why is everyone acting like your father's some kind of hero? She snapped at Jason one evening. He's just old. All he did was fix a fuse and close some windows. Big deal. Jason didn't respond. He only lowered his head. One Sunday afternoon, the community held a small gathering at a neighbor's house, a way to celebrate surviving the storm together. I didn't want to go, but they insisted. When I entered the room, I was greeted with warm applause. There he is, Daniel Harris, the man who kept us safe. I felt my face flush. Please don't exaggerate. I only did what I could. But the people didn't stop. They told stories of how I had helped them years ago, fixing roofs, repairing fences, even buying groceries when times were hard. As they spoke, I noticed Jason. His face turned pale. He sat in the corner, silent, as if each word was a dagger. Olivia whispered in his ear, her lips tight with bitterness. They're humiliating you. They're treating him like he's better than you. Don't you see? He's trying to make you look small, but I wasn't trying. The truth was speaking for itself. Later, as the gathering ended, one of the elders placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. You've got a good father, son. Learn from him. Men like him are rare. Jason's eyes welled up, but he quickly brushed the tears away. I know, he muttered. Olivia scoffed, grabbing his arm. Let's go, Jason. Back at home, silence filled the air. Jason sat at the table, staring at his hands. Olivia paced the room like a caged animal. Finally, she exploded. Are you really going to sit there and let them worship your father like some saint? He's making you look weak. Pathetic. Jason slammed his fist on the table. Enough, Olivia. Her eyes widened. She wasn't used to him raising his voice. I'm tired, Jason continued, his voice shaking. Tired of pretending Dad is useless. Tired of letting you poison my mind. Do you know what he's done for me? Do you know the sacrifices he made? Olivia folded her arms. Oh, please. Don't start with your sob story. Jason stood, his face red. It's not a sob story. It's the truth. When Mom died, he didn't abandon me. He worked day and night to raise me. He gave up everything just so I could have a future. And what have I done in return? I sold my house, wasted everything, and came crawling back to him like a spoiled child. His words hung in the air. For the first time, Olivia was speechless. I had been silent, listening from the doorway. Slowly, I stepped into the room. My voice was calm, steady. Jason, it's not too late. Mistakes don't define you, but how you rise after them, that's what matters. He turned to me, tears streaming down his face. Dad, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Forgiveness is not earned. It's given. But respect, that must be earned. Olivia's face twisted in anger. This is ridiculous. You two can play your little emotional drama all you want, but I'm not living in a house where I'm treated like the villain. I deserve better than this. I looked at her, my eyes sharp but controlled. Olivia, respect is not about what you think you deserve. It's about what you give to others. And from the day you stepped into my home, you've given nothing but mockery and contempt. Her jaw tightened, but she had no comeback. Jason lowered his head. Dad, I let her influence me. I turned against you. I was blind. My chest ached, but I spoke firmly. You were not blind, Jason. You were weak. But weakness can be cured with humility, with truth, and with courage. The room was silent. Even Olivia, for once, had no words. I knew the climax was close. The time had come to speak not just as a father, but as a man who had carried the weight of silence for too long. I straightened my back, my voice firm as steel. Tomorrow, Jason. Tomorrow the world will know the truth. You, Olivia, and everyone else. No more silence. No more insults. No more disrespect. Jason's eyes widened. Olivia froze. For the first time, they saw not just an old man, but the strength of a father who had endured everything and still stood unbroken. At night, I couldn't sleep. The storm outside had passed days ago, but the storm inside my heart was only growing. For years, I had swallowed my pain. For years, I had chosen silence. But silence can only last so long before it turns into a roar. And tonight, I knew. My roar was coming. The next morning, I called Jason and Olivia into the living room. They walked in, Jason's face pale, Olivia's lips pressed into a thin line of irritation. I stood by the fireplace, my hands resting on the mantel. Sit, I said simply. They sat. Jason shifted nervously. Olivia crossed her arms like a child about to be scolded. I took a deep breath. My whole life, I have lived for one thing, family. Jason lifted his eyes, guilt heavy in them. Olivia rolled hers. I worked with these hands until they bled. I gave up dreams, comforts, and even my own health to make sure you, Jason, had a future. Not once did I complain. Not once did I ask for anything in return. Jason's voice trembled. Dad, I know. And I failed you? I shook my head. No, son. You didn't just fail me. You failed yourself. The words hung heavy in the air. Olivia scoffed. Oh, come on. This is just emotional blackmail. Jason, don't let him guilt trip you. We just needed help, that's all. I turned to her, my eyes sharp. Help? I repeated. Help is what you give when someone is drowning, despite fighting to swim. But you tied stones to Jason's legs and pushed him into the water. That is not needing help. That is selfishness. Her jaw dropped. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. Jason put his head in his hands. She's right, Dad. I let her control me. I let her blind me to what really matters. I walked closer, my voice calm but firm. Jason, true strength is not measured by money or houses or luxury cars. It is measured by humility, by gratitude, by respect, and son. You showed me none of those. His shoulders shook. Tears slid down his face. I was arrogant, Dad, he whispered. I thought selling my house, making quick money, would make me successful. I thought following Olivia's desires would make me a man. But all it did was make me small, weak, lost. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Admitting weakness is the first step to becoming strong again. Olivia stood abruptly, anger flaring. You two can sit here and cry about respect all you want, but the world doesn't run on respect. It runs on money, status, power. That's reality. I looked her dead in the eye. No, Olivia. That's your illusion. Money runs out. Status fades. Power crumbles. But respect lasts beyond the grave. She faltered, her confidence cracking. Jason turned to her, his face hard for the first time. Olivia, Dad is right. I lost myself trying to please you. I lost everything. My house, my dignity, and my relationship with the one man who never gave up on me. I can't do it anymore. Her face went pale. Jason, what are you saying? I'm saying, Jason said firmly, that if you can't learn respect, then maybe you don't belong in this family. The room went silent. Olivia's mouth opened, but no words came. For the first time, she had no control. I stepped forward, my voice carrying the weight of years. I am an old man. My days are fewer ahead of me than behind me. But before I leave this world, I will not live in a home where respect is treated like garbage. This house, my house, will always welcome humility, kindness, and gratitude. But arrogance, mockery, entitlement, those things have no place here. Jason sobbed, falling to his knees. Dad, I'm sorry. I see it now. I was wrong. I let pride blind me. I let Olivia lead me down a path of destruction. Please, forgive me. I bent down, pulling him into an embrace. There is nothing a father wants more than to see his son return. You are my blood, Jason. You are my boy. And no mistake will ever make me stop loving you. His tears soaked my shirt, and mine soaked his. Olivia, meanwhile, stood frozen. For once, no words, no mockery, no arrogance. Just silence. Finally, she whispered, I don't know how to be that person you're asking me to be. I looked at her. Then learn. If you truly love my son, you'll learn. She lowered her head, the first crack of humility breaking through her pride. That evening, as the sun set outside my window, the house felt different. It wasn't perfect. Jason had wounds that would take time to heal. Olivia had walls that might never fully come down, but something had shifted. And as I sat alone later that night, I whispered to myself, respect is the only true wealth. And today, I reclaimed mine. If you believe that respect is worth more than money, share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.